Um, Hi, good morning, all of you. This is Vamshi. So I was the trainer for the data science technologies. So we have some participants here, some around 11 participants. I think Arun, Babita, Vishnu. Um, some of you, your mics are, I think, not available. Please make sure that your mic is available for you. I think Manu Kumar is not having the audio, and Koranle Vishnu. I think you don't have. We have the audio. And Arun also, you don't have the audio. So if you don't have the audio, you can't hear me. They can't hear you. They can't hear me actually. Okay. Naveen, Neelam, and Pavan. So 11 participants are there. Okay. So hi everyone. This is Vamshi, and welcome to this the demo on. It's not a demo. It's a workshop on the data science course actually. Okay. Can all of you can hear me? There is a chat panel will be there, so you can see something called as an chat will be available. So if you have any questions, you can use a chat panel. So at the bottom, you can see the chat option will be there. Just expand it. And can you please confirm me that can you hear me and can you see my screen? Can anyone in the group? Can you just confirm that? Yes, Mandar, you can see it. Okay, fine. You can see that. Okay, thank you. Neelam, hi. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your confirmation. That's it. This is about myself and just a small introduction. Shall we start with the introduction about myself? So let us start with our the actual course curriculum. That is the actual discussion. So I have a small presentation. So let me share the presentation. And first, let us start with my introduction. Actually, this is Vamshi. So I don't want to spend much time. I don't want to just a couple of minutes. So this is Vamshi Krishna Guttula. Maybe most of you have, some of you have, at least some of you have heard about me. Um, one of the most experienced trainer from Hyderabad. So I'm having around 17 plus years of experience, 17 plus years of experience in the software industry, training, development, as well as the support based projects. And my complete specialization, my complete experience is on the data itself. My complete specialization, my experience, all the 17 years of experience is on the data related technologies only. So my experience including basically the management of the data, processing, analyzing of large volumes of business data. So I was expertise in database management. So I started my career in almost all 2003. So almost all 2003, it was almost all 17 plus years of experience. So in the year 2003, I have started with my training as well as my development. We have a lot of experience on both of them. I started with my like database technologies. So I worked on Oracle and worked on SQL Server. I was a very specialist in SQL also. Still, I'm having some interest in taking the database classes. Still, as of now, also I'm taking some classes related to SQL actually. So that is my main interest actually. So I was a very specialist in SQL basically. And after that, around in 2010, I have moved to DBA. Almost 7 years, I worked on the database development part. And in 2010, I moved to DBA. So I worked as an SQL Server DBA, the complete database management administration in 2014 and up to almost all with 2014, I have worked with DBA. After that, I moved to the Microsoft Business Intelligence BI tools. Even in 2005 also, for a couple of years, I worked for the BI applications. Like at that time, we used to have the tools like Informatica, Cognos, Data Stage, Business Objects. These are some of the older tools. Nowadays, they have been outdated. Almost all they have been outdated because a lot of new tools has been came actually. Cognos, Business Objects, Data Stage, and Ebony Show. These are some of the BA tools used to be there. So I worked for those kind of a BA tools. And again, from 2000, approximately from 2012, I came into Microsoft Business Intelligence. So at the time, Microsoft has introduced a BA tool, a complete suite of BI, that is Microsoft Business Intelligence, where you are going to get an ETL reporting and analysis tool. I was a very specialist in that the BI technologies, and I was very interested in working on the multi-dimensional analysis. So it is not a two-dimensional analysis; it is a multi-dimensional analysis. We used to use a language called as an MDX. So just like how you use SQL on a relational table. Arun, I think you don't have the voice properly because everybody can hear me. My voice is very clear. Please check out from your side actually, Arun. Your mic settings, there will be an audio settings will be there. So please check their audio settings here. Okay, Arun. Okay. Um, just give me a minute. Not organizers to all entire audience. Just give me a minute. Okay. So at the time, you know that SQL is a language. SQL is used to work on a two-dimensional object called as a table. It is just like a table only. And I was a very specialist in using a language called as an MDX. MDX are going to work not only with tables. It's not only for tables. It is going to work with something called as in cubes. These are what we call it as a multi-dimensional databases. They are not two-dimensional databases. There is going to be multi-dimensional databases are there. So from Microsoft, we are having a database called as an SQL Server Analysis Services. So a SQL Server Analysis Services is a multi-dimensional database. It is a full stack data science program, sir. Yes, it is a full stack data science program. I'll come back to that particular discussion. I'll come back to that actually. So almost all up to 2014, I have worked with 2012 to 2014 and 2015. I worked with MSBI, and from 2015, I worked on the big data technologies. So for a couple of years, almost all for 2 years. So I worked on I worked on this big data technologies. So while in 2017, while I'm working at Tech Mahindra, so I have got some exposure to the machine learning. While I'm working with the big data technologies, I got some exposure to the when I was working with a team of Standard Bank with the Standard Bank team. So I got an exposure to the machine learning. At that time, I was not that much familiar with the machine learning. So I have got a scope of looking into the machine learning project. So I got an interest on that. I left Tech Mahindra from 2017. I left the Tech Mahindra in 2017, and from there I started doing learning the things on machine learning. Almost all I have done it by self-learning only, mostly by watching the videos and all these things. And after becoming a very specialist on that, I started trainings on machine learning, some kind of a corporate trainings, academic trainings, workshops. So I done a lot of training programs, and in 2019, I done one certification program from Triple IT Hyderabad. So I think most of you people are aware about that. There is a training curriculum from Triple IT Hyderabad. Triple IT Hyderabad is one of the first Triple IT in India. One of the first. It was established by almost all. It was an interest by our former president APJ Abdul Kalam. It is an initiative from APJ Abdul Kalam. So they want to started one at a university, a kind of an university for information technology. So they have established, they started these triple ITs in Hyderabad, and one more in Delhi. They have been started actually. It's one of the top triple IT among the India. So I've done one certification program. It's it's a little bit costlier also. I think you heard about that. It costed almost 2 lakhs. It is only for just for a 3 months of time. So I done one certification on AI and ML from Triple IT Hyderabad in 2019. So this is my expertise. If you really work with me, or you can just started your learning with me, so you will be getting a very much knowledge actually. So not to just exaggerate me, but I have a lot of knowledge is there. So I works on SQL. I can teach you MapReduce. I can teach you the big data technologies. Even I works with ETL tools, and I can work with Spark, big data, Spark applications, Python, R. So generally, you don't find a person who is specialist in both Python and R. So I was a very specialist in Python and R. So I started data science learning from R actually. So after that, I moved to Python. After that, I moved to Python actually. First, I started my trainings on R itself. Later, I have moved to Python based on the majority of the people interested actually. But initially, I worked on R. R is a very beautiful language. Still, I like the R language, and still I have a programs on R language also. Okay, this is about myself. Just before starting with this, and I don't want to make much about myself. So let us move forward. So what is our basic agenda for the today's class? The today's session is going to be, I just want to make you understand these points what I want to give it. So many people are having a different understanding about data science. Some people says that if asked what is data science, some people says that it is for basic for business reports. Some people says that it is for business analysis, and some people is going to say that it is kind of an some predictive analysis, recommendation engines. Yes, all of them are going to be some of the use cases of the data science course. So mainly in our data science, we have basically we have a lot of terms are available actually. Mainly we'll encounter three terms. So in data science, mainly you're going to hear about three terms. One is going to be the artificial intelligence. The other one is going to be a deep learning, and other one is going to be the machine learning. So within this 1 hour session or 1.5 hour session, I'll take at least I take a session for 1 hour 15 minutes of time, and after that we'll take a question for another 15 minutes. That is our basic idea about this particular training session. So within this 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes of class, 60 or 75 minutes of class, so I cannot make you understand the complete concept about the AI and ML and the DL. The AI stands for artificial intelligence, DL stands for a deep learning, ML stands for machine learning. So actually you see the course as AI, or do you see the course as a data science, or you see the course as some other thing? First of all, the thing is, don't try to understand all at a time. So if I try to make you understand what is deep learning, you cannot understand now itself. If I make you understand what is artificial intelligence, you can't understand anything about that. So first we are going to start with something about we are learning about a data science, because these are all the one of the subtopics of data science course itself. So first our concentration is completely on the machine learning. First we'll start from the basic, which is going to be nothing but the machine learning. So machine learning is going to be the one of the a subtopic of a data science course. Actually, we have AI, ML, and DL is there. Even if you see any job portals also, they call it as either AI or machine learning. I'll show you. In Naukri, we'll go and check out. Even if you check for AI also, the job roles are going to be, the technologies are going to be AI or ML is going to be gets used actually. It is going to be AI or ML is going to be gets used. That is what exactly we'll go for that. So that is going to be the idea behind that. So first our concentration is going to be on the ML concept. So ML as well as the data science, what we are going to be hearing about that. Later we are going to work with that particular application. Okay. So these are the points to be discussed. So it is going to be nothing but we are going to learn we are going to understand what is data science, who is a data scientist and who can be a data scientist, what exactly modern data scientist is required, and what is a data science workflow, industry usage of data science and technologies used in data science. So it is one part of a data science only we are looking at that, but our concentration is going to be on ML. I'm not going to concentrate on DL and AI as of the this particular demo class, actually the workshop class. Okay, first of all, what is data science? First of all, what is exactly data science? So somebody saying that we are in mathematics. I was poor in mathematics. Okay, don't worry guys. So let me complete off my demo class, my discussion. After that, we'll take some questions from your side. Then we'll have a discussion about all of them. Okay. If you have any technical questions, please free to pose those particular technical questions. If any such kind of a questions like how much time it is a course, what is the fees, at the end of the session we'll discuss about that. We'll take a question timer, and we do that actually. Okay, so what is exactly data science? So a data science is nothing but it is not a technology. Data science is not the name of a technology. We are going to learn some techniques here. We are going to learn a various techniques, some methodologies. So to solve a real-time problem, so simple to understand that we have got a problem in the real time. So I have a problem. So what is the problem? I'll tell you later. So we have a real-time problem is there. A real-time problem is there. Some real-time problem. It can be in your real life, or it may be your job, or it may be anything. So we have some real-time problem is there. So there is a solution to solve the problem. There is a solution. There is a solution to solve the problem. The solution has been already developed by some mathematicians and statisticians. We are applying the solution to the real-time problem. Just whatever the real-time problem we want to solve, there is a solution is there. But in the way, or in the whatever the way we are trying to find the solution for that, how we applying the solution, we use a different types of techniques. What we are going to be using actually, we are going to use some kind of a techniques, some methodologies we are going to implement, some kind of a computing powers we are going to be using, some kind of a machines we are going to use. So all this we are going to collectively is nothing but what we call it as a data science. So it is one of the area. It is a data science is also called as a data driven science, because the data science is completely driven only with the data. Without having a data, we don't have a data science. The name itself says that, data science. So it is nothing but a data driven science, where we are going to use a various techniques we are going to use, or a methodologies we are going to use, or some kind of a scientific methods and scientific systems we are going to use. Finally, the basic agenda here is to get some insights from the data, understanding the data actually. So we have some real-time problem. What is a real-time problem? I'll tell you. So there is a solution has been already developed by mathematicians. So in the way we are applying the solution to a problem, we have some techniques are there. So all the techniques collectively is nothing but what we call it as a data science. And finally, the idea here is to get some understanding about the data. That is what we call it as an insights. We have some data. It may be a machine's data, or a people's data, or a patient's data, or it may be student's data, or it may be some other's data. Whatever may be the data, so we have some data with us. Based on that particular data, we are getting some analysis on that, and we are trying to get some insight from the data. So all these technologies, not technologies, all these techniques collectively is nothing but what we call it as a data science. So if you can see the picture, we'll understand what is exactly data science. So you can see that I don't know whether you can see the font or not. So data science is going to be also known as a data driven science, is one of the interdisciplinary area about some scientific methods. We are going to learn, or we are going to use some scientific methods. There are different types of processing techniques are available, and we are going to use a different type of systems we are going to use to extract some knowledge or insight from the data in various forms. It may be either a structured data, or it may be an unstructured data, and very similar to the data mining. Very similar to the data mining. So I'll explain this picture later. So I'll come back and I'll come back to that picture once again after completion of some slides, because you cannot understand now itself. I'll come back to this particular application later once again. I'll come back to that. And the next point is going to be, who is a data scientist? So simple to say that, who is a data scientist? A data scientist is nothing but a person who is having the knowledge of statistics as well as some computer skills. Simple, statistics plus computer skills, you can become a data scientist. So you have to be having a knowledge of statistics plus, which is going to be some computer skills, some skills on the IT actually. But here the main problem comes. Let us take a statistician. So who has done the MSc statistics, or it may be PhD on statistics, or mathematicians, whatever it may be. So generally the mathematicians and statisticians, generally they don't prefer to go for these programming languages. They don't want to go to IT. They don't use any programming languages. Maximum extent they will use as Excel actually. Statisticians, mostly they are going to use Excel sheets. And these statisticians are not good at IT skills, or not the computer skills. When I take an IT person, generally we are not good at statistics, or we are not good at mathematics. As somebody said that, sir, I was not good at that much good at mathematics. So a combination of statistics plus IT. So simple to say that a data scientist is a person who is having some skills of statistics, and who is having some skills of computer skills. You can simply say that a statistician with some knowledge of IT compared to the other statisticians, or an IT person compared to other IT persons who is having a little bit good knowledge about statistics. So a person who is better at statistics than any other software engineer, a software engineer who is better at statistics and better at software engineering than any other statistician. So compared to statisticians, he is having a little bit knowledge on who is better at software engineering, or if you compare with the software engineering people, he is better at something like a statistician. A combination of statistics and a computer skills will make a person as a data scientist. So if you want to become a real data scientist, there is a different case. It's not that much easy to become a data scientist. I'll talk about what is exactly a data scientist will do. Okay, so who can be a data scientist? As I already told you, it is a combination of maths and statistics knowledge plus computer skills plus some kind of a domain expertise is also required. So a data science project or a data science expert is going to be having the knowledge of maths and statistics as well as computer skills as well as a domain expertise. All these are required. Why do you require a domain expertise? So generally whenever a problem comes, to solve the problem, so like prioritize the problems, so we require this kind of a domain knowledge is going to be required. So whenever we are working with some data, so you should be aware about some kind of a domain problems and domain issues are going to be required, because to solve any particular problem, some kind of a domain knowledge is required. That does not comes with just by a training, it is going to comes only with an experience. So while you are working with various domains, so as you know that the people who works on insurance, they will have a domain knowledge on insurance. So what are the factors which affect the claims, or which claims can be identified as a genuine, which claims are identified as a fraud, who are working in healthcare, which are positive cases, which are negative cases, they're the domain experts. So who are specific specialists in their particular areas are what we are going to call it as domain experts. So like doctors in medical, the research people in the clinical research people and doctors, they're in the medical domain actually. So insurance people, the marketing managements or the insurance claims. So those types of people are going to be expertise in banking and finance related, some education or some other marketing, or it may be some production, retail. So we have a different areas are there. So who are expertise in that particular domains, we generally call it as a domain experts actually. So a domain knowledge, a domain expertise, maths and statistics knowledge, and computer skills will make a completely a data science as a the data science project or a data scientist what we can become. So now you'll understand what is exactly a modern data scientist exactly. So as you know that data scientist is the sexiest job of the 21st century. Is a requires a mixture of, it's not just like in learning, you know what is generally a scientist. Scientists know generally we'll call a person as a scientist when he knows everything. That means when he knows almost all everything. It's not only to his domain, he can speak, he can learn the other technologies, other domains also, and other areas also can work. Generally we call that kind of a person as a scientist actually. So a mixture of multidisciplinary skills ranging from an intersection of mathematics, statistics, and computer skills, thus computer science, and some communication and some business ideas. So finding a data scientist is really hard actually. Finding a real data scientist is very hard. So finding people who understands who is a data scientist is equally hard. So finding people who understand who is exactly data scientist is also really hard. So here is a little cheat sheet about what exactly modern data scientist is required. So I told you some kind of a mathematics and statistics knowledge is required. So inside that I told you about something called as a machine learning. So we have something like a machine learning and some kind of a statistical modeling is going to be required. And there are some kind of a learnings are there that we'll discuss it later, supervised, unsupervised learnings, and all these are going to be comes under the math and statistics. So to apply all these machine learning techniques or the statistical modeling, we require a programming language. So like we are going to use a language like Python we are going to use, or I told you we can write the R language. Some kind of an SQL and NoSQL knowledge is required, relational algebra, and working with some kind of a big data systems, like it can be MapReduce concepts, Hadoop and Hive, etc. is going to be gets required. And some kind of in communication skills. Communication means it's not like in speaking skills. It is going to be nothing but storytelling skills. data visualization techniques. So communication and visualizations. So whatever we understood from the data, how we are going to explain to the end users or the business users, only just by using some visualizations. So there are so many tools are there for data visualizations. We can use Tableau, ClickView, Power BI. Even in Python and R also, we can perform all those particular the techniques what we can do that. And I told you about a domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is going to be required basically to prioritize a problem. To solve the problem, experience is required in solving the real-time problems. Now, how exactly the data science process is going to take place? So here we have a lot of discussion we are going to do that. So basically the idea here is in data science, we are trying to get some insights from the data, and that insights, whatever we got it, that are going to be used for our prediction purpose. Sorry. Let us take an example. I take a small real life example. If you want, you can test it. So let us say that, let us take a person. Let us take a small example, just an example of a data science project related. I'm talking about that. So there is a person, let us say that suddenly at a midnight or at midnight or in the morning, he is getting a chest pain. He's having an issue. He is getting a chest pain. So generally we know that generally everybody having an idea, chest pain is going to be related, something relevant to heart attack. But not every chest pain is a heart attack, but most of majority of them is going to be related to heart attack. So it is one of the dangerous health related issues which most of the deaths are occurring. So immediately the patient has to be taken to an hospital. The patient has to be taken to an hospital. Like in metro cities, hospitals are very nearest. The patient can arrive at an very nearest hospitals. But imagine something like a remote areas, some kind of an villages or some kind of an not a metro cities where the hospitals are not that much availability, and the medical specialists are also not available. Let us say some out of the capital cities or some not a metro cities. So diagnostic centers are available almost all in every village and almost all in every towns and cities. We have the diagnostic centers are available actually. So he cannot reach but the person is having a doubt whether it is a really a chest pain or not. That is the basic idea. So the person goes to the nearest diagnostic center. So you know that I think all of you have an idea about that. Generally, when in that type of health conditions, first the person is going to be taken a test called as an ECG. I think all of you are aware about the ECG. It is what we call it as an echocardiogram. So which will graph the current, the heartbeats and how the heart is. It's not heart functionality, but how the heartbeats are taking place. If there is any if is there any change in the level of the heartbeats, it can identify that. And the ECG has to be interpreted by a medical expert, maybe a cardiologist, or it may be interpreted only by a doctors. Normal people cannot understand it, which should be interpreted by a doctor. So what is my idea here is I want to develop an app. I want to develop a mobile app, and is already there are a lot of apps are available actually. So I want to develop a mobile app. So the app has to be nothing but the person takes an ECG without having any interpretation by a doctor. If you upload this particular ECG, just take the photo, and if you just ECG and give it to the app has to tell whether it is a positive case of a heart attack or whether it is a negative case of a heart attack. They don't say that it is heart attack or not. 80% chances that it is a heart attack. So please rush to the nearest hospital or a the medical centers. Negative says that also says that it is not likely to be negative, but interpret. It's going to just give a basic idea about whether it is an heart attack or whether it is not a heart attack. So 80% chances that it is not an heart attack, or 90% chances that it is an heart attack. So that the person can take an immediate action. He can rush to the nearest medical centers or the nearest hospital. He can take it. But how the app is going to understand this particular data? There is no person sitting there. There is no doctor sitting there. So it is automatically done by one machine actually. That is actually what the machine learning is going to do. So how do you develop this app? Very simple. So take some ECGs, take a lot of ECGs. The ECG pictures, we can take them. So you can consult a hospital or you can get it in Google. we have a lot of ECGs are there. So which are having a positive cases and which are having negative cases. Positive and negative cases. So image ECG is nothing but just like an image only, just like a picture, or we call it as an image. We have some images of ECGs, or it may be something like an scanning reports or whatever it may be. So these images are going to given to our machine. These images are going to be given to our machine. Machine understands. Machine can understand. What is machine learning exactly? So machine learns from the data. Machine can understand the data automatically by itself. So machine is going to understand that particular images, and it can identify, it can learn. If the graph is something like that, it is a positive case. If the graph is like this, it is going to be negative case. So we have been given some training to the machine. So we are giving some training to the machine. Machine is learning means we are giving some training to the machine, saying that these are going to be the positive cases of heart attack and these are negative cases of heart attack. It learns from that. And once it has learned, it has developed a model. It will develop its own insights, or what we call as a model actually. So once a new image has came, a new ECG image has came, my machine will predict whether it is a positive case or whether it is going to be a negative case. So that is exactly what the machine learning, what exactly the data science we are doing actually. So we are not only getting the insights are going to be used for our prediction purpose, but how the insights will come, the machine learns. In data science, the machine is going to learns the insights. It is going to learn from the data and it is going to give you the insights. So if you want, I'll tell you one best example of that. I'll tell you one best example of that. So we have an app called as Apollo, which is going to be an Apollo 247 is the name of the app. If you want, you can download it actually. I think some of they're having the Apollo 24/7. Is nothing but Apollo 24/7. We have this actually. So inside that, what exactly we are going to be having here is we have an app, we have an option is there. It's a completely an AI based machine, AI based application. So you can download that. Now we want to consult a doctor actually. But what is your issue? What is your problem actually? Or simple to say that there is an as of now we have a pandemic period is there. So there is going to be one option called as which is going to be whether to want to check what is your risk level. So whether you have been diagnosed, whether is a chances that you will be diagnosed with a positive case of corona or a negative case of a corona. So we have some app is there. So generally, you know, the apps for testing, we have seen a lot of apps also. RAQ Setu is an app which was initiated by our government of India. But they'll ask you some few questions. They'll ask you some few questions saying that, do you have any, these kind of symptoms are there? And do you have any, have you traveled across the internationally in the last 25 to some 45 days of time? And do you have any existing health related conditions are there? Have you any contact? There's kind of a simple questions they'll ask you. Based on that, they says that it is going to be this one. But in Apollo 24/7, it's not just like in questions. They will record your cough. So they'll ask you to cough for a 10 seconds of time. You please cough it. You have to record our coughing for a 10 seconds of time. So in that particular cough is nothing but when you cough it, it is going to be nothing but a voice. It is not an image. It is nothing but a voice. So we'll give the voice to the machine. The voice is going to recognize, as you know that whenever a person is affected with the coronavirus, so he is going to be having a dry cough. If you want, you can try the app. You can try the app. So download that Apollo 24/7, and there we are having some an option called as at the end related to COVID-19. So we have an option called as a check your risk level. So the first thing is it is going to ask you to record your cough actually. So please cough for multiple times, almost all for 10 seconds of time. So once you click on record and cough it, so it will identify what type of cough it is, whether it is an dry cough or whether it is going to be non-dry cough. Generally, most for positive cases, dry cough is one of the major symptom. So they will identify saying that we have identified these many dry coughs and these many non-dry coughs. So there is what is the chances that the person is going to be get affected with the coronavirus. So it is a purely an AI based system. It's a purely an AI based system. So the cough is nothing but a voice. So we already given to the machine. So machine understands which are going to be the dry cough and which is going to be nothing but a non-dry coughs. So it has been learned, it has been trained. The machine was trained such a way that you have to learn, we have to understand. So these are the voices, this will be the voice. This is going to be the voice of a dry cough, and this is the voice of a non-dry cough. We trained it actually. So after that particular training, so whenever a new cough signal comes, which a new video signal, audio signal comes, so my machine can easily identify whether it is a dry cough or whether it is a non-dry cough. So this is a complete process, how exactly we are going to work with this, the so-called as the machine learning models actually. So here you can see we collected some raw data collected from the real world. It may be an images, it may be an images like an ECG, or it may be a voice like an cough voices, whatever you want, we can collect it. You can collect from various patients. They will be gets collecting. Hospitals will collect all the data actually. And first the data has to be gets processed. First we have to, I told you, it is not just like an end-to-end business application. We have a various techniques are there. First, it's a data collection. Collecting the data from the real world is also one of the important steps. So a raw data is going to be collected from the real world. And after that, we are going to use a different types of processing techniques we are going to use. So we have to process the data. Like how do you convert the images into a data? How do you convert the voices into data? Everything has to be converted into data only. Just if I give an image to the machine, machine cannot understand. From that image, we have to get the data. We have to get some values. From the voice, image, audio, videos, from anywhere we can get the data actually. Data means don't think that it is just only a business data. It can be any kind of a data. Images are going to be the data. Images are going to be the data, or it can be something like and audios, videos. Everything is going to be nothing but we can just call it as an this one. I think and best example also we can say that whenever you go to some the audio applications, audio apps has came like Ghana or something like that, Spotify or something like this. So if you just generally if you're searching for it, if you're searching for a particular a song, you can type it. You can type the name of the song. So let us say that you don't want to type the song, just you can sing a song also. If you just sing a song, it can identify, it can find that particular picture, that particular audio also, it can pick it. So it depends on your audio signals. Depending on that audio signal, it's not converting into text. It is going to be just based on the rhyming or the music what you have been got used. Based on that, it is going to do that. NAA based applications. And when the data is processed, all the data may not be a clean data. So first we have to do the cleaning of the data set actually. Sometimes there will be some irrelevant data comes, some wrong values will come. So we have to do some kind of an analysis we have to do. So to understand the data, that is what we are going to call it as an EDA, or what we call it as an exploratory data analysis. We simply call it as an EDA, or what we call it as an exploratory data analysis. If you are not satisfied with this, again, go back. Simply again we'll go back, again reprocess the data, again further cleaning is required, you can do that cleaning. So example is, let us take some ECG images, get all the data from that, clean it if it required, do some analysis on that. So how the positive and negative cases are identified, we do some analysis, and that data will be given to my machine. That data is going to be given to the machine. Machine learns, machine understands which are positive cases, which are negative cases. And whatever that particular insights, that is nothing but whatever the model can be communicated a visual report, and based on that we can make a decision. Otherwise, I told you, no, you can just give this app as an product in the real world. I can just deploy into a mobile application or web application, and I can release that into a real time, a real world. I can implement it actually. So it is not an end-to-end business application. It starts from here, ends with here. Again, the same process. Again, we have to collect the data, and again, the raw data, how it is working, we have to test it, and we have to do the process. It is a cyclic process actually. It is not a business end-to-end application. It is a cyclic process, and it is not a business application where my clients are going to use this actually. Okay. So once if you see the data science workflow in a simple picture, the same workflow process I've shown you here, and this is a workflow actually. So first, identify what is your problem, what you are trying to solve the problem. So we are trying to make the machine to learn, to predict what are the positive cases and what are negative cases of a heart attack by learning from the ECGs. Or we are trying to train the machine to understand the coughs, the audio signals of the coughs from various persons or various patients, and identify whether it is a positive case of a corona or a negative case of a corona. So there we require some kind of a domain knowledge is required. So prioritize the problem, understand the problem, separate the concerns. And I told first we have to do the data collection and data preparation. Select the right data. So from an ECG, so which data we have to take exactly? Domain experts will tell us actually. So come some kind of a data transformation. I told images has to be converted into data and handling of missing data, and we do some exploratory data analysis. And here we are going to apply some how it is going to learn. Machines cannot learn automatically by themselves. So machines are going to learn by applying some algorithms. So we have some machine learning algorithms. That is what exactly we are going to learn in our course curriculum. So we are going to learn a different types of machine learning algorithms we are going to learn actually. So that is exactly what we are going to do. So choosing the right algorithm, which algorithm is best? As I told for every real-time problem, there is a solution. That solution is nothing but an algorithm, which is already developed by mathematicians and statisticians and domain experts. So which algorithm has to be used for solving this particular problem? Like for example, when I talk about the ECG prediction, so when I upload an ECG to we have the apps in our Play Store, in a Google Play Store or in the iPhone Store or iStore, we already have the apps actually. If we just upload the ECG, the machines, it's an AI-based systems are there. So which can predict whether it is going to be a heart attack or not, it can identify that. They don't say that it's a heart attack, but it will say that it is a normal report or it is an abnormal signals are available or a normal signals are available. Based on that, we have to interpret that actually. So which algorithm is going to be the best suitable? How accurately it is working? So once you train the machine to predict, these are the positive ECGs and negative ECGs. So we have to test it, how accurately it is working. So test the accuracy and test even the other algorithms also and validate them actually. And after developing of the model deployment has to be done. So whatever the model we have been developed, we are going to convert into a developer code. We are going to give it as an API. That API can be called from a mobile application or it may be web application. From anywhere you can call it actually. And after that, we have to monitor the performance of the deployed model. Retraining is required. I told you training is nothing but here. The machine is going to be trained to understand the data by applying some algorithms. So redeploying the models, remonitoring the model performance, all these things. It is also kind of a cyclic process what we have to use. So that is what exactly the data science workflow is going to take place actually. It is not a end-to-end process. It is going to be cyclic process actually. So where exactly we can use the data science? So simple, I told you what is a data science actually. Give the data to the machine. Machine is going to understand the data and it is going to give you the insights. And using the insights, you can do the prediction. This is what we are going to do that. It's a predictive analysis. So always machine learning, always this data science talks about based on what has been happened, it is going to tell you what is going to happen in the future. It is always going to concentrate on the future, what exactly is going to happen actually. So there are so many areas where this AI systems has been introduced. So mainly in case of the healthcare. So disease identification, I told a best example. A disease identification and the risk stratification actually. Identifying what type of disease it is going to be. Give the symptoms. The machines will tell what is the chances that. So doctors innovators also, they're depending on these kind of NA systems only. So they'll give all that clinical reports, the blood reports or whatever the reports are there, that will be given to the machine. Machine automatically identifies that, saying that this is going to be a positive case of so-and-so disease actually. In financial services, risk analytics. So identify the risk analytics and regulation in finance, like mostly in banking and insurance. In banking and insurance, mostly the fraud detections, fraud transactions, fraud claims. So there is a chances that this claim is a fraud claim. It understands, as you know that when a person applies a loan, the banks will take a lot of information, like what is the age, how much loan you are applying, whether you are married or not, whether you have a own house or rented house, do you have a two-wheeler, do you have a four-wheeler, and from how many years you're working in a company, how much is your bank savings, do you have any existing credits are there. Why they collect all that information? Because before giving a loan, the bank should have an idea whether the person or whether the customer is going to pay the loan promptly or not, whether he will be a defaulter who does not pay the EMS promptly, and non-defaulters. So after giving the loan, the bank will come to know whether he's a defaulter or not. But before giving the loan only, we have to do that. So we have the past customers data, who are defaulters, non-defaulters. Give the data to the machine. Machine understands who these are the defaulters, these are the non-defaulters. So model is created. Now, whenever a new customer applies a loan, give his information to the model. The machine says that yes, you can give a loan or don't give a loan. So whenever a person applies a loan or a credit card, so they says that sir, loan is rejected. So the loan is rejected by the machine. Why the loan is rejected means it depends on the whatever the past customer's behavior actually. The machines learned these are the defaulters and these are the non-defaulters. If you have any characteristics similar to the defaulters, it says that no, don't give the loan to the particular customer. So those kind of risk analytics is going to be gets done by the machine learning. So AI systems actually, we call it as an AI systems because machine learning is a part of an AI only. So whenever we talk about a retail business, so we know that in e-commerce sites, like whenever we purchase a product, they'll give a recommendation. The person who brought this product has also brought this particular product. So that is going to be some kind of a recommendation engines are going to be there. Market segment and targeting. So which type of customers should be should be given the ad related to so and so particular product. So recently I have seen one, I think you are hearing about a controversy on the WhatsApp privacy status actually. On privacy regulations, recently some news is spreading and there are some lot of discussion is happening actually. So what is WhatsApp is saying is simple to say that what is WhatsApp is saying is we are going to share your information to the Facebook and other third-party tools. WhatsApp is saying that we are going to share your details to the customers, that is to the Facebook and also to the other third-party tools. So what is the exactly meaning of that? What is exactly the meaning of this one is they don't share our details. So we have some controversy on that. Some people are saying that they will share our details, they will share our contacts. It's not something like that. Very simple. I've seen one some kind of a meme I have been seen in Facebook, which I have been a lot of. It has. I just liked that meme very much actually. So simple. Let us say that you are chatting with your friend actually. You are just chatting with a friend saying that, for example, I am feeling bored. Let us say that I'm feeling bored. Let us plan for a movie. Let us plan for a movie. So you have just chatted with one of your friend or your relative or with anyone. You chatted saying that I'm feeling bored. Let us plan a movie. Shall I go to a movie? So the WhatsApp is going to read that article called as a movie. That means there is nobody sitting there. Just they will read that particular. They will do some analytics on that. They will clean the data and they will pick the word called as an plan movie. So they will have a plan and a movie. So every movie, everybody who talks about movie, that does not mean that he's planning to go for a movie. So I watched a movie. That is a different case. Plan a movie. So whenever you plan a movie, immediately you are going to get some ads, like maybe from Book My Show or something like that in your Facebook or any third-party applications. They will give an ad of the Book My Show. Book your tickets online. That is what the Facebook is saying actually. It is not going to share our privacy details, or it's not going to share our personal details to Facebook. So whatever we are chatting, so based on that, they are going to give you the ads actually. That is what exactly the Facebook and the WhatsApp is actually planning actually, but there is some controversies going on as of in India, and right now currently the policy has been held actually. So that is nothing but what we are going to call it as market segmentation and targeting. That is the example of an market segmentation and targeting. So in the backend, there is one app, then AI model will be running. It will collect all the messages, whatever you are doing, it will clean it and it will forward to the words. So whenever there is a word called as I'm planning a movie, immediately it will send a notification saying that this person is planning a movie. So send some ads related to that. You are planning to buy a shoes, immediately they are going to do that. Up to now, if that is happening actually, whenever you search in the Google, so you went to the Google and search it for, I want to buy a pair of shoes. Immediately ads will come from Flipkart or from Amazon or from some other e-commerce sites. currently there are the Google is scanning only our web pages only. Now WhatsApp is saying that we are also going to scan your WhatsApp messages also. Whatever your chatting text is there, we are going to analyze that. They're not reading them, but they are going to analyze them. So it's a campaign management. What type of campaigning we are going to do? Even in financial services also. Let us say that you send a message saying that you are having a planning for savings. Immediately the message will be sent to the various banks saying that this person is looking for so and so savings plans. So then immediately we'll get the ads related to that particular savings ads. So all these things in real life, whatever we are seeing is nothing but an AI system. So they developed an AI model and they have developed some machine learning models. So where they are going to analyze your data and it is going to give you the recommendation engines. So if you talk about like that, there are so many cases are there. The success stories of AI is going to be very much. So we can see a lot of in our real life every day we are using a lot of AI machines. The best example, whenever you are typing in WhatsApp, whenever you type a word, it will predict the next coming word. What could be the next word? It's an AI application actually. It's an AI application. When you buy the mobile for the first time, when you're using when you purchase a new mobile, immediately it can't suggest you the proper words. But over the typing, over you started your typing, in a couple of days, it is going to give you the next coming words, whatever it is frequently using. And you know that the vocabulary that is used in mobile is different, and the vocabulary used in other mobile is going to be different. So we can talk about a lot of examples like this, the success stories of these machine learning models. So let's go for some concepts of technologies used in data science. So we have these kind of a technologies like we are going to use some big data systems. We are going to learn a technique called as a technology called as a data cleansing, web scraping, data visualization, and machine learning. Next, what is a data science? Sorry, what is a big data actually? So generally you heard the word big data is nothing but the word which generally we are going to use. To represent the data which is very, very large, which our traditional systems cannot handle. So that is a term what we are going to use it as in big data. I think you heard about the word called as big data. So which is basically for not for analytics, but for processing of the data. So how is our big data and machine learning is related? We'll understand later. So what is exactly big data? So big data is a term of the data sets that are so large or complex that traditional data processing application software is inadequate to deal with them. And there are so many data technologies that are used in data science related to the big data. So Apache Hadoop is there, Microsoft HD Insights, big data in Excel, which from 2013, SAP HANA or Presto from Facebook. These are all some of the big data technologies what we are having. So are you going to learn these big data technologies in our data science course? Absolutely saying it is no, because we are not going to discuss much about this because nowadays it is almost all outdated. But still we have a slight introduction regarding this. Apache Hadoop concept is available in our class. And after that, data cleansing. I told you, data cleansing is nothing but when you collect the data from real world. When you collected the data from real world, like for example, I'm taking some ECG images. So whenever I take one ECG image, maybe one ECG image is there, but actually what happened here is due to some wrong sensors or wrong connections, a wrong ECG will come actually. So we have to identify that kind of an inaccurate data. Inaccurate data we have to identify. So sometimes some images may not be that much clear. So my systems cannot read the data properly. So we have to identify such kind of an inaccurate, inconsistent, and irrelevant data, or sometimes the data is missing. Some data may be missing sometimes. So identifying them and replacing them or modifying them is nothing but what we call as a data cleansing. So data cleansing or a data cleaning is a process of detecting and correcting or removing the corrupt or inaccurate records from a record set, and refers to identifying the incomplete, inaccurate, incorrect, and or irrelevant parts of the data, and then replacing, modifying, or deleting the dirty or the coarse data. So here also we have a lot of tools are there. We are going to use MS Excel, or we can use a lot of ETL tools like Talent, Ab Initio, Analytics Canvas, or WinPure, and there are many more tools are available. We are going to use all these techniques actually. This is nothing but a data cleansing, a life cycle. Whatever the data you want to analyze, standardize the data, normalize it, remove the duplicates, check the quality, So again, reprocess the data actually. And web scraping. This is a term which generally most of you are not heard about that. So let us say that I want to do some kind of an analytics. Like for example, recently, let us say that US elections, take an example of US elections. So in US elections, the Biden has been won the elections, and Trump has lost the elections actually. So how the people are reacted nowadays, you know that majority of the people nowadays, they are taking the social media for they want to give their response, or they want to give some comments. So they are going to tweet on the Twitters actually. That is nothing but what we call as the tweets. Twitter says that whenever we post any message, it is what we call it as in tweets, what they call it as. So now I want to know, so when the Trump has been lost the elections, how the people are reacting. Is really the people are happy, or people are sad, or depending on that, they want to take they want to take a survey actually. So how do you do that? So first of all, we have to collect all the tweets from the Twitter, and we have to get it into our local systems. So Twitter is nothing but just a social media platform where the user is going to post that particular messages. So how do you do that? I cannot make a person sitting there and asking that check all the tweets if the tweet is related to the elections in US or lost by this one. So don't collect the data. So we have a technique is there. That is what we call it as web scraping. Directly by using a web scraping technique, we can collect the tweets and we are going to store it into a CSV files. Not only from Twitter, like some sites like Amazon, e-commerce sites, we can get that kind of a data. So that technique is nothing but what we are going to call it as web scraping. And this is basically used for sentimental analysis. This type of analysis is what we call it as the sentimental analysis, what we are going to call it as. This is what we call it as a sentimental analysis. So to do the sentimental analysis, we are going to do this kind of an web scraping tools, what we are going to call it as. So web scraping is a technology or a technique employed to extract the large amounts of data from websites, whereby data is extracted and saved to a local file in your computer. So data science contains a lot of techniques. It's simply not just giving the data to the machine and doing that. We require a lot of other things. That's why we call it as a data science actually. We are completely working from the data, working with the data only. Different techniques we are going to use. So we have a lot of web scraping tools are available like import.io, webhost.io, Texi.io, Scrapping Hub, and Visual Scrapper, and there are many more tools are available. So this is a picture which is going to give an idea about what is meaning of a web scraping. From the websites, we'll get the data and we are going to store it into our local systems. And the next one important is data visualizations. This is also very important a technique which should be known by every data scientist. That is nothing but putting the data into a visual context. We have some data. If you look at the data, you can't understand anything from that, but better go for a visualization. Visualize it, then you'll understand the data very clearly. So patterns, trends, correlations. Generally, if you look at the data, you cannot identify them. But if you plot it, if you visualize it, we can understand the trends. We can understand the correlations. We can understand the patterns. So put the data in a visual context. So putting the data in a visual context is nothing but what we call it as a technique, what we are going to call it as a data visualization. So to perform the data visualization also, we have a lot of tools are there like a Tableau, ClickView, Weka, Excel, R, Python, Google Charts, and so many are available here. So this is a data visualization technique actually. So this is how we do the data visualizations. So, and the next and the last one is going to be our machine learning. That is the main important part of a data science course. Our basic idea about data science is to get the insights, but how the insights will come, it is by a machine. We are not going to do it manually. We are going to give it to the machine. Machine is going to give the insights. So this machine learning, actually the word or the term machine learning, we are hearing from a last couple of years or maybe 3 or 4 years of time, not beyond that. But actually it was developed almost some around 60 years before itself. This machine learning concept is there. The research is already going on, but at that time we don't have a sufficient systems and we don't have an advanced algorithms to get the success stories at that particular point of time. From 1960s only, they have already started doing the research on the machine learning. It was coined by a person called as the person name is it is going to be Arthur Samuel. He is one of the pioneer in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and he was an employee in IBM. So while he was working in IBM in 1959, so he has given the term called as a machine learning. And how the machine learning is defined is we are giving the ability to learn. The computers are given the ability to learn without being much explicitly programmed. I don't say without explicit program, but without much explicit program. So we don't have any much explicit programs, the machines can learn. But the powerfulness comes from the algorithms. It is not the powerfulness of machine learning. In the machine learning, algorithms are the powerful here now. So the powerfulness of algorithm and the powerfulness of your computers. It is not Python or it is not R, it is not some other thing. It's not the powerfulness of the language. The powerfulness of the ML algorithms, the machine learning algorithms, and your computing power of your computers. So in early days, we don't have machine learning, much advanced machine learning algorithms. And at the time, we don't have a computers. We don't have that much computational power is not there. But now you know that apart from CPUs, we have the GPUs and we have the TPUs. So our computational power has been increased due to some cloud storages also we have got it actually. So due to this advanced computational power of our machines, so these success stories has been come. They have been came actually. Otherwise, still machine learning is going to be a general research term only it is going to be. But it was given as an implementation because it is due to the powerfulness of the advanced algorithms and it is the powerfulness of the computers what we are using actually. So what languages we use for machine learning? Any language we can use R, Python, TensorFlow, Vika, SAS Enterprise Manager, or a Microsoft, Google, Amazon Cloud APIs are also going to be gets available. So this is a simple understanding between a traditional database program, traditional programming, and a machine learning programming. As you know that in a traditional programming languages, we have the data, we write the program, we give it to the computer, computer runs the program and gives the output. In machine learning, you give the data, you give the expected output. Machine understands the data and the program is written by the computer itself. The simple term, a simple picture to understand what is meaning of machine learning. Machine is writing the program actually. Program means it is not a programming language. It is going to be nothing but what we can call it as the insights, whatever you are going to be getting. And this is going to be the picture of machine learning. One of the beautiful picture which we can understand from here now. Over the time period, how the changes has been taken place. Man has been replaced by a machine. So 90% accuracy, but still we have a 10% errors will be there. Machines also do the errors. We can make the machines to do the errors. It is completely within our hands only. So like in the next month, how much demand is going to occur for a particular product. Earlier days, how to use that. In the last month, how much demand has been occurred. In the last year, how much demand has been occurred. But at the time, only 40% is your accuracy, but 60% there is an error. So over the time period, it has been done in Excel, 50-50 accuracy is there. They applied some statistical prediction, 70% accuracy, but 30% error is there. And after that, they have been demand on some kind of a new advanced technologies they have been got applied. 85% of accuracy and 50% is an error. Now, even the machines are doing 100% accuracy, but at least they can do 90% accurately. It is going to be gets done, and more faster and more reliable. There are going to be the machines are going to be there. So mainly in our training includes somebody has asked you the question like maths and statistical concept which are related to the algorithms will be discussed in the class, and even we have a projects that are going to be based on your interested domains, and will help you in preparing the resume preparations and FAQs for interviews, and completely it is a live class actually. So no copy and paste mechanisms. There is no copy and paste mechanisms. Everything is day-to-day classes only we'll be having actually. So it's an instructor-led day-to-day classes only. It will be there. It is going to be there. And coming to that training program, every day-to-day classes will be there. Everything is going to be the hands-on practice only. Whatever the examples are shown in the class, we are going to share it through the Google Drive. So I have my Google Drive like this. I'm going to be having a Google Drive like this. So every day there is a course, there is a Google Drive like this. We'll be sharing this particular drives. So you can see these are my different classes at 7 a.m., at 9 a.m. and some classes are going on. So this is my class 7 a.m. We'll be getting all the day-to-day The PDF files will be coming. These are the examples. So day-to-day examples are going to be gets given like this actually. These are nothing but my the Python notebooks actually. You have to open within a Jupyter notebook. We have a tool called as a Jupyter notebook. Using the Jupyter notebook, we are going to open this actually. It cannot be directly open in the like a web page. It will show you, but we are going to open through an. It is going to be open through an this one, and we have other tools are also there, which we are going to open by using that. So day-to-day class notes and class PDFs and the class examples will be given to you. And this is only just a workshop. It is not a demo class actually, just to give some idea about what is meaning of what do you actually learn in machine learning. So from wherever you learn, so generally these are the topics which we have to learn whenever you go for the data science course. The main heart of the data science is going to be machine learning. First, we have to start with the machine learning. I didn't give an introduction to the deep learning because you cannot understand what is meaning of deep neural networks now itself. I don't want to go in depth about the technical stuff of that. Just a basic idea about what we do it in data science course. So we are going to learn some various techniques. Various techniques we are going to learn. And our basic idea here is to get some insight from the particular data. To get some insight from the data, and the insights can be used for our prediction purpose. Mainly for predictive analysis only, we are going to use this actually. That is the basic idea behind this particular data science course. So which language we have to use? The languages can be either R language or a Python, whatever it may be. But here we are going to use the Python is the language what we are going to use with an introduction to R classes. So this is only just a workshop just to make you get some awareness of this one. So if you really want to join the course, so we'll be conducting a demo classes will be there before starting with the session. So for the further details, you can just contact the Durgasoft, the backend team. They will give you the complete details about the course duration, the course curriculum. They'll share you all those particular details. Okay. So just for today, we'll end up the session, and I just want to take any technical questions, please. It is not like course timing, Vishnu. I was not sure about that, whatever the course timing, but based on my basic information, it is at morning 9 a.m. I think so. But we have another workshop is going to be taken on the next week, and after that we are going to start the regular classes actually. But for any further details, you can just contact the Durga IT software, the Durgasoft solutions or Durgasoft. For the backend team will be there. You can just contact them to get the further details. Yes, Uday, I was an expertise in both in Python and R. Generally, you don't find a person who is an expertise in both R and Python language. So I was an expertise in Python, the R and Python language. So I will be teaching completely on Python, but along with that, we are going to give some introduction to Python also, the R language also we are going to give. Sir, what is the total duration of the course? Kumar, actually we are going to take totally 3 months of time. Totally 90 days it is going to be gets taken. And the course is basically divided into 2 parts. First, we have to learn machine learning, that is artificial intelligence with machine learning. And then you have to go for one more course called as a deep learning if you are interested with that. Okay, so if you want to go for any artificial intelligence with machine learning, it is a 90 days course. And after that, you will be having another 40 days for deep learning concepts. You can learn it actually. Sir, okay, SQL and NoSQL concepts are covered as well as sir. Actually, you don't require, but it's nowadays SQL has become a common language, just like earlier, how the C language is commonly required by everybody. So SQL has also become a common language. So we have a lot of platforms are there to learn that particular SQL language. So better learn SQL online, but that is not going to be discussed as part of our course curriculum. And daily, how many hours of class? I don't have any information about that, but generally we'll take around some 60 to 75 minutes of class we are going to take every day. Kumar. Fees, please contact Durgasoft for the further details, because I was a consultant trainer for them. So I don't deal with all that this one. So they will schedule the class, and they says that this is a class and this is the topics which I have to give, and we are going to do. Yes, it's Uday. It is a live projects will be available, and based on your interested domain, you can choose at least 2 domains for our real project, whatever you want to do that. Is there any placement assistance will be there? No doubt placement assistance will be given. It's not placement, but it's a placement assistance will be given. So all the FAQs or whatever the so learning this data science course is not like learning a programming language. So I'll tell you all these things in the coming classes. Whenever we start with our actual classes, we'll have a look at all those things. You should not think like a normal developer. You should completely remove that the word called as a developer from your mind. It is a kind of a read a lot of articles. We have to read a lot of blogs. We have to do a lot of research. So I have a lot of research done by myself. I'm going to show you all the research examples in our training course actually. Okay, so is there any technical questions? If you have, you can just post them in the chat panel. So okay then, I think we don't have any more questions from your side. So let's end up the session for today. And our backend team, the Durgasoft backend team, will inform you about the next coming classes. I think they are planning for one more workshop on next Saturday, and the regular classes are going to be from Monday. But you will be getting that update from the backend team, and you can just go forward according to the particular schedules. Course contents, Pavan, you can see it in the online in the Durgasoft. The website is available. You can just go through the course content, and my backend team also will forward with the course contents also. Right? Okay then. Just for today, we'll end up the session here. So thank you all of you for attending this session, and have a nice day. And hope you will see from the regular classes. Okay. Thank you all of you.